All right, so Anna brings us some great questions that I'm gonna break into a couple different videos here. But first she asks, what's the purpose of home buyer title insurance? Is it worth the cost? I see it listed as optional. So absolutely, there's two types of title insurance offered when you purchase a home. First is the lender's title insurance. This is not optional if you're using financing. So the lender's insurance protects the lender in case there's any title defects, meaning that there's some error with the recording of the deed and who owns the property. That protects the lender and the mortgage that they have on the property. The other is an optional buyer's insurance, and this protects you as a buyer if there are errors in the recording of the deed anywhere in the past. So do you need it? It's really up to you and how much risk you want. I would always suggest getting it because I've seen issues where it's actually needed. So here's a really good example. Let's say you purchase a home, you've been living there for 5 years, okay? And then you end up finding out that 15 years ago, the seller, a seller signed off on the home, but they have an ex who was supposed to sign and they didn't sign off. And now that ex has legal ownership to your property because they never signed. So they go to court and they sue for the ownership of the property. So who's going to pay the costs to settle that in court? You, unless you have owner's title insurance. Owner's title insurance is going to make sure that you have protection in case anything happens in the past. I've even seen this in our local area where we had an issue very similar to that where it was kind of an estranged ex didn't sign off on something, and then this home that was $100,000 is now worth $1 million because a commercial development came in. So now that land was valued extremely high, and so now this ex wants to come back and claim ownership of the property because they never signed off, and it's a mess, and they didn't have owner's insurance. Okay, if they had owner's insurance, it would have just paid off the ex and they wouldn't have had to worry about it, but instead it had a long drawn out court battle and I have no idea what happened with it. But so it's really something that's optional. It's up to you. I personally would get it, but if you're trying to save on some money, then you could go without it. Just know that you have some risks of things like that happening in the future if you don't insure the title on your behalf.